Hey there and welcome back to another video of International Business Class Journey with me, Muhammad Naufal, and this is going to be the last session of the journey. So I prepared for you a special mind map of everything that I've learned with IPMI International Business School on international business. So let's just get into it. Well, as you can see here, this is the mind map of international business that I've made, and there are many different colors here, and each color represents the session of the class. So let's jump into the green session, which is the first session. So by definition, international business is business transactions between parties from more than one country. And there are 5 key players here: large companies, firms from emerging markets, small and medium-sized enterprise, multinational enterprises, and born global firms. So how do and why do they do international trade? Well, there are 2 reasons. The first one is the absolute advantage, the capability to produce more with less production input, and the next is comparative advantage, the ability of international business to produce specific goods at lower opportunity cost. And the next is the globalization. So globalization is driven by the international trade. And what is it exactly? It is a trend toward greater economic, cultural, political, and technological interdependence among national institutions and economies. So how do global companies manage globalization? Well, there are 6 ways. The first is exporting, importing, licensing, strategic alliance or cooperative arrangement. Joint venture is a type of strategic alliance but with share ownership, and direct investment, or a firm that builds subsidiary in a foreign country. Now that concludes the first session of the class. Now on to the next session of the class is about risk when doing global trade. Well, there are 4 risks. The first is cross-culture, that explains that every country has their own culture and values, and if of course it is by itself is a risk. And the next is the financial risk, that can be explained by the currency and exchange rates, which can also be explained in 6 factors: inflation rates, relative income, government restriction on flow of goods and services, risk perception, interest rates, restrictions on capital flow. The next is the commercial risk, which is the potential for loss with trading partners. And the last is the country risk, which includes 2 systems, political and legal systems. In political system, there are 3 types of political system. The first is totalitarianism, second is socialism, and the last is democracy. Totalitarianism associated with command economies, democracy associated with market economies, and socialism associated with both combination of command and market economies. And in legal system, there are 4 types of legal systems. First is the common law, which is based on past practices. Second is civil law, which is based on agreed written regulations. The third is religious law, which is based on belief and religion. And the last is the mixed system between any of those 3 laws. And the next one is the thing that also contribute into the country risk, which is the government intervention. There are 4 types of interventions. The first is tariff, which is the tax on import. Second is the non-tariff trade barrier, or the government policy, regulation, or procedures on trade. The next is the quota, or the quantitative restrictions of goods. And the last is the investment barrier, rules that hinder foreign direct investment. And that concludes the second session of the class. Now on to the third session, which is the purple color here. First one is about the theories of international trade and investment. Well, it can be explained onto 2 levels. The first is the nation level and the firm level. On the nation level, there are 6 theories that explain why do nations trade. Includes mercantilism, absolute and comparative advantage, factor proportions, international product life cycle theory, and new trade theory. And how to describe the competitive advantage on national level: the competitive advantage of nations, Michael Porter's Diamond Model, and national industrial policy. And on firm level, there are 2 theories explaining why do firms go global. First one is the internationalization process of firm, and the born global and international entrepreneurship. And among these firms that go global, how do they sustain their competitive advantage? There are 5 theories: the monopolistic advantage theory, internationalization, dunning eclectic paradigm, international collaborative ventures, and network and relational assets. Now on to the next topic, which is about the FDI and SWF. So FDI is a foreign direct investment. What is it exactly? It is a strategy in which the firm establishes a physical presence abroad. Well, why do firms do foreign direct investment? There are three types of motives. The first is market seeking, which is to gain access to new market or to follow key customers. Second is asset resource seeking, which is to gain access to raw materials, knowledge, or assets. And the last is the efficiency seeking, or to reduce production costs and or to locate production near customers. Now, in choosing the location for FDI, it can be just like that. There are 7 considerations. First is the market situation. The next is the human resource. Next is infrastructural, the political system, the legal system, the economic situation, and the factor of profit retention. And that concludes the foreign direct investment, and on to the SWF, or Sovereign Wealth Fund. It is a state-owned investment fund that invests in both real and financial assets to basically stabilize the country's economy. And in Indonesia, it is applied to attract foreign direct investment and to boost economic growth in Indonesia, especially to boost the development project. So in Indonesia, it is managed by an institution called Indonesia Investment Authority, or INA. That concludes the third session of the class. Now on to the fourth session, which is about sustainability, both through Blue Economy and ESG. Now with Blue Economy, what is it exactly? It is a business sustainability through continuous cycle process with radical resource productivity and zero waste. And there are many concepts that could explain Blue Economy, and 4 of them are cradle to cradle, closed loop, renewable energy, and reuse. Now the sustainability through ESG focus on 3 inseparable factors. The first is environmental. It explains how the company deals with operation affected environment. The second is the social, how is the relationship between company and the stakeholders. And the third is governance, is how is the company being governed. And if done properly, ESG will impact very, very positively into the investment and also the sustainability of the business itself. Now the last session of the class is about corporate governance. There are 3 main point of focus here. The first is ethics or behavior practices. The second one is sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Well, in ethics, there are 2 theories that explain the standard of ethical behavior. The first is relativism, or explain that ethical truths are not absolute, but differ from group to group or country to country. And the second one is normativism, that explains ethical behavioral standards are universal and should seek to uphold them consistently around the world. And the second point of corporate governance is sustainability, which is its goal to achieve global goals for sustainable future. And next and last is the corporate social responsibility. It's a self-regulation that aims to contribute to societal goals by engaging in or supporting volunteering or ethically oriented practices. And that is everything in international business class of IPMI International Business School. So that's it, guys. I hope it's clear enough for you, and I will share with you the mind map onto the description below. If you enjoyed this video or the whole journey of international business class, don't forget to hit the like button. Well, until then, take care of yourself and see you next time.